Hello, hello once again. Yes, so now this time I will be talking a little bit about my favorite and the ones I think are the best TV shows right now. Yeah, so there are of course a lot. There are a few that have ended, of course, as well. As you know already, Game of Thrones ended last year, and the Big Bang Theory last year also. There are a few others as well that have ended or are about to end. Well, first of all, I think perhaps the best show right now is of those that I have watched anyway. Is Peaky Blinders, and it's simply the has the best cast, the best screenplay, the best acting, of course, and just the strongest show that I can think of right now. And yeah, I also am. Well, I have started watching a show, Bad Blood, with Kim Coates, which is about, of course, the Montreal crime world, and that's a pretty good show, which I can recommend. Uh, you know Kim Coates from the show Sons of Anarchy, of course. Yeah, and in the first season also there is a very good, a nice performance by what's his name now? Anthony LaPaglia. Yeah. And he was playing a real life mafia boss called Vito Rizzuto. So yeah, and now that I think of it, he was actually supposed to star in well, he was one of the main choices for the part of Anthony Soprano. So I wonder, how that would have been with him instead of James Gandolfini. But of course, we now cannot imagine that character being played by anyone else by except Mr. Gandolfini, because he is such a wonderful job. And the best thing about him in that part, I guess, is that he was so unusual. He was so unorthodox. He played such an unorthodox mafia don. Because they usually are not so. Uh, they are usually portrayed at least as very reserved and kind of quiet and not that fun loving people. Even though some of them may be, of course. But yeah, that show was, I think, so great because it showed a wise guy who had problems. I mean, emotional and psychological problems, and yeah, it was a very new thing back then. To kind of watch the mafia world from the eyes of a shrink. So more or less. So yeah, and yeah, that was a great show. But of course, it had its critics, and I read about like some famous Italian American people like Danny Aiello, for instance, senior. He was like very down on the show, and he thought that it presented Italian Americans in a bad light. But I think that's kind of preposterous. It's kind of bizarre because that show is not about was not about a regular Italian Americans. It was about criminals, you know. So, but anyway, yeah. So there are a few other shows that I started or tried watching, but just kind of fell off either at once or later on. Like for instance, Outlander. It was a show I kind of enjoyed the first season, but the second season was not as good. I thought, and after that, I just stopped watching. And I tried watching. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the part where I want to say something about shows that I think were kind of overrated. First one was The Walking Dead. I tried also watching that show, but I couldn't see what was so great about it because obviously it had a large following. And yeah, I mean, it won a few awards even. So, but I just, you know, I failed to see the great value with that show. I mean, it was mostly people running away from zombies, fighting them, and talking and stuff. Another show that I used to enjoy, at least to an extent, but that became kind of tedious, was Lost. Of course, Lost was uh, got lost at the end. Early on, it had a lot of premise. It had a lot of excitement and all that, and the cast was alright, not really top notch, but alright. So yeah. Another show that at first liked was of those superhero shows was Arrow. I thought the first season was very good, but the quality kind of dropped after that from season 2. Season 2 was alright, not as good as season 1. And season 3, when all these different superheroes started popping up, it just became too much for me. It became too cartoonish, comic bookish. So I kind of preferred when it was just Oliver and his friend Deagle, so his name is, that kind of were dealing with all the bad guys. So yeah, it kind of just becomes too much with so many superheroes in one show. So yeah, I mean, that show was also, I mean, the problem with it is that not all the actors were. They were not. I mean, none of them were really. I mean, only I think I liked Paul Blackthorne. Yeah, Paul Blackthorne was good as the father of, as the Lance father, to put it that way. Stephen Amell was good enough, not really impressive, but good enough. So, but the problem with all these shows that are based on superheroes and comic books is that gradually they just it becomes too much with all these different villains and all these different characters. When you put too many of them, it just becomes like too much. I didn't really enjoy that so much. Yeah, I kind of liked Sons of Anarchy also, but when they became too much about like complicated stuff. I mean, politics and different gangs and all that stuff. I mean, really also enjoyed the first season the best, and the same with True Blood. With True Blood, I really enjoyed the first season, and the second one just kind of got a little bit too intense, I think, and after that it just became too much blood and gore and all that. In the first season, it was just, just right amount of all that. But still, I watched the show till the end, and I find it mostly good. I mean, satisfactory. Both the acting was good. I mean, you had like Alexander Skarsgård and Stephen Moyer, Anna Paquin, and yeah, a few other good actors. Really, yeah, the guy who played what's his name, Sam Trammell. I mean, he was also pretty good. I'm not a fan of Ryan Quanten, not really, but I guess he did alright. Anyway, as Jason. Yeah, so as to return to now to present, yeah. What other shows am I watching? Well, of course, I watched Punisher. That's perhaps my favorite show right now. But I don't know when season 3 is coming. I'm really anxiously awaiting it. I think it's the best, definitely the best comic book based show right now, and I'm really in awe of John Bernthal and his performance. He's really an amazing actor. I mean, he is fine. I mean, after having three different actors play this or try themselves as Frank Castle, none of them was really, really effective because Dolph Lundgren was, come on, it's Dolph Lundgren. He's not exactly like Michael Caine or someone like that, Al Pacino. Um, I thought that movie was alright, I mean, but still just more like a B movie. Then you had what's his name, Thomas Jane, who I thought was just simply not. He didn't look the part, He was too much a pretty boy, and then you had the last guy, Ray Stevenson, who kind of looked the part, but I don't know. That movie was perhaps not so good. Yeah. So John Bernthal as Frank Castle is really, you know, it is the thing, it is the right thing. He is just the right type of actor, and he both looks the part and is the part. He just played it so good. And of course, there are other good actors there, and Amber Rose Reva um, plays Agent Madani, and of course Ben Barnes who played role of the villain Billy Russo. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's just a great show. And then yeah, Daredevil I also watched, but again like with Arrow, uh, after one season which was good, the show just started kind of to drift away to lose focus, and they start to focus too much on the other two, supporting actors too much, I think, and that kind of pisses me off. And the same thing about The Witcher. I think I've already talked about it. For the first like 5, 6 episodes, it was all about, Geralt of Rivia, as it should be. But then suddenly that sorcerer girl, Jennifer, it became too much about her, especially in the last 2 episodes. I didn't like that because it, it was just too little of Geralt in those episodes. So yeah, yeah. So I have tried watching a few other shows, but yeah, Altered Carbon, for instance. But I just find them a little bit too heavy. Yeah, I'm not that much into science fiction, so yeah. Alright, I think I said enough. Yeah, let's finish on this note. Until my next video, see you around. Bye bye.